Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast. A controversial and deeply emotional case has once again returned to the spotlight as the Texas Supreme Court has declared that the execution of Robert Roberson can proceed. Roberson, convicted in 2002 of murdering his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, through what was described as shaken baby syndrome, has consistently proclaimed his innocence. His case has raised significant legal and scientific debates about the validity of the diagnosis and its use in capital punishment cases. Roberson's execution was initially scheduled for October 17th, making him the first person in the United States to face the death penalty for a shaken baby syndrome diagnosis. However, the Texas Supreme Court intervened, pausing the execution after a State House committee issued a subpoena for Roberson to testify. That temporary reprieve expired when the execution warrant lapsed on October 17th. But today's court decision has reignited the possibility of his death sentence being carried out. Robert Roberson's conviction stems from the tragic death of his daughter Nikki in 2002. Prosecutors built their case on the testimony of a pediatrician who identified swelling and hemorrhages in the child's brain as evidence of shaken baby syndrome. Roberson was sentenced to death, and for over 2 decades, he has been fighting to overturn the verdict. The shaken baby syndrome diagnosis has been at the center of the legal battle. Roberson's legal team argues that newer medical evidence casts significant doubt on the prosecution's case. They claim that Nikki was suffering from pneumonia and had been prescribed respiratory-suppressing medications in the days leading up to her death. These medications, they argue, led to complications such as sepsis and septic shock, which could explain the symptoms observed during her autopsy. Adding to the controversy, several lawmakers, medical experts, and criminal justice advocates have backed Roberson's fight for clemency, questioning the legitimacy of the shaken baby syndrome diagnosis in light of advancements in medical science. They argue that the science used to convict Roberson has since been discredited in similar cases, and they urge the court to consider this new evidence before proceeding with his execution. Despite these appeals, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and other state officials have maintained that Roberson was lawfully convicted and sentenced. Paxton's office contends that the jury did not base its decisions solely on shaken baby syndrome, and that Roberson has exhausted all legal avenues available to him. However, Roberson's attorneys argue that the syndrome was a focal point throughout the trial, cited repeatedly by prosecutors and witnesses to secure the conviction. The case has reignited debates about the reliability of outdated medical diagnoses in criminal trials and the broader ethics of capital punishment. Advocates for criminal justice reform point to Roberson's case as an example of how evolving science can challenge the fairness of earlier convictions. Robert Roberson's case is not just about one man's fight for his life. It's a flashpoint for larger questions about justice, science, and the role of capital punishment in the United States. With support from lawmakers and medical experts, Roberson's advocates continue to push for clemency, while the state argues that justice must be served. We will continue to follow this case closely and bring you the latest developments. For now, the battle over Robert Roberson's life, and the implications of his case, continues to unfold.